What's up, y'all, and welcome back to In the Wild. And it is our last episode of 2023, and we got some very special guests to come talk to us a little bit because it's graduation season. And who better to have than our student commencement speaker? So give a big, warm Jaguar welcome to Justin Goddard and Deepali Giri. How's it going?
Pretty good.
Good. Nice to see you again.
Yeah, great to have you back. Welcome to In the Wild. How does it feel to be at the finish line at this point in the semester?
You can go first.
Yeah, it feels great. We've been waiting for this day since the very beginning, and it's kind of just like a relief that we made it, and it's time to go in our new paths.
Yeah, it's definitely a surreal feeling just because I'm having a process that, like, once I graduate, like, there is no coming back. And especially in the winter semester, that, you always think, okay, January comes, we're back for the spring, but there won't be that. So I'm trying to get my brain to understand that.
Deepali, for you, you mentioned that you're part of the master's program in nursing,
Yes.
which is an accelerator program. So how's it been coming from California to Augusta?
It's been like a new experience. So I was the type of person who said I won't go anywhere. I just want to stay home where my friends and family are. So when I first came out here, it was a little bit, I was nervous, I was anxious, but I was very welcomed by the individuals in Augusta and Georgia itself. So I feel like that was the most impactful experience that I had. And with that being the start, it really helped me throughout my journey in this program.
I'm glad that you really had a positive experience overall. And how has your perspective on the nursing field evolved over the past 16 months that you've been here?
Yes, so I definitely got to learn a lot. With it being a challenging program, we also get hands-on experience in the hospital. So we see various perspectives of patient care and how teamwork is actually very something to emphasize in our role. And working with others is really important because that's how we emphasize the quality patient care.
And for you, Justin, your digital marketing, what would you say is a lesson that you learned that would be very valuable for other students who want to get into the digital marketing space?
That's a good question. I'd say for sure, it's kind of the advice that I've given someone in the past is to just be a sponge and just kind of soak up information. And especially because digital marketing is a new field that's being taught in schools, but just overall a new field in general. There's just so much learning that's involved with that. So to just be a sponge and try to soak up as much information, but also be like adaptable because, even for an example with social media or social media marketing, trends that are popular 6 months ago are not popular today. So the world and digital marketing is just always changing. So just to really be adaptable.
So in terms of like classes and coursework, how did your program kind of prepare you for the ever-evolving change that is the digital world?
Yeah, so freshman year, you kind of have more of a business focus. So that'll be things like, your resume building, cover letters, things like that. And then once you get up into your junior level classes, those are going to be more of your digital marketing focused. So I've had classes like strategic management, obviously an intro to digital marketing, and even a social media marketing. So I loved those classes because instead of just learning and just getting a lecture on like, this is what this is what this isn't, we actually had a few classes where our projects or our finals, for an example, were hands-on. So in our social media marketing class, we actually got to spend half of the semester by creating a social media account and pretty much running it as if we were our own business in a sense. And so everything from the marketing, the graphic design, the video and the editing, and then just content planning. So just getting to really have like a hands-on experience really helped me a lot. So
I'm glad that you had a positive experience as well, hearing some of the stuff that you're talking about, because you also were pretty involved as well, doing a lot of different things. Makes me reminisce a little bit. But switching back to you, Deepali, is there a piece of advice that you wish someone had given to you before starting this accelerated program?
Definitely the way to study. Now, there are various ways to study, and I came from a program where I could do something last minute and still push my way through. But with the field of nursing, you really have to know everything from the very beginning. And you work your way up to that, and that's how it really stays in your head. And you also use a lot of clinical judgment. So that's something that I didn't know at all until coming to this program. So really emphasizing how you can provide the best nursing judgment to your client, to your patient, instead of just studying and memorizing. So that's something I would like to put out there.
And kind of going off of that, because I feel like in studying, especially when you're in the healthcare, health services field, like it can be a lot. So what do you
Yes.
usually do to kind of relieve stress? Like, what do you go for comfort when you're not having to study?
I actually just like to stay on my own, sleeping, relaxing. I try to find some like ways I can, be with friends outside of the studying time. Usually the friends that I've made here, we're in the same program and we just do group studies, but we try to find ways to, go somewhere. Or like, for example, after every exam, we went to a restaurant to go eat and relieve just that anxiety and stress that we had.
What have been some of your favorite restaurants in Augusta so far?
Soleil.
Okay.
I really like that spot. And then that's pretty much it. I love cafes. So
Okay.
that's definitely, I like Eubora. I'm a big coffee fan, so going there was really nice.
Do you have a go-to comfort food?
Not really. I love trying new things. So if I did have a comfort food, I don't know, it would be more like a comfort drink, which is my coffee.
Oh, what about you, Justin? Do you have a go-to like comfort food or spot?
I want to say something, if I'm on the dessert side, maybe like a milkshake.
Okay.
But if I'm like, I want to go get down and like get food, maybe like a burger. I'm thinking of Whiskey Bar. So,
Okay.
something like
Whiskey
that.
Bar. But switching gears a little bit, thanks for playing this game with me. What led both of you to applying to being speakers for your respective ceremonies?
I'd say for me, I knew I wanted to. Let me start off like this. So I kind of think of like my time at AU as like a story. And with graduation being like the end of the story, I was thinking like, what can I do to really like encapsulate like everything? And obviously you can take grad pictures and do things like that, but I was like, I want to see what thing I can do that like is in a form of a message. And so found the graduate speaker application and then went from there.
For me, just because of like my background coming from California, I feel like I just wanted to leave the message that if you really unexpect something, that's like the big part of your experience, so and what it can lead to. I never expected to be here, and I just wanted to leave a message that nothing ever goes what you plan. And then I've made a lot of great memories here, and I don't know when I will see these individuals again. So saying that goodbye through a commencement speech would be really nice.
Yeah.
I'm really excited to hear both of your speeches. Were you surprised at all that you were selected for this opportunity?
Yes.
You were?
Yes.
What was or how did you find out? What was that process like?
So for me, I'm not going to lie, the first day after I applied, I was so nervous. Like it was so bad to me to the point to where like my heart was beating so fast. Like if I was at work, I would have to get up and like walk around a little bit just to like calm myself down. Cause I guess I wanted it so bad that I was like so nervous about like the decision. And then I was actually contacted about the fact that I got it on like a Saturday morning on a time that I wasn't expecting it. So I was like, okay, it's Friday. I'll just wait till Monday. And then I woke up and like that was the first email I saw. So like that was just a huge like sigh of relief of like, okay, obviously now I have to make my speech in full, but that was kind of how it played out for me.
For me, I was told by my mom, like, just do it if you want to be a speaker. And I was the type of person in high school and college who didn't want to really be a part of anything, like being a secretary or anything like that. So I kind of just did it, and I really didn't know that people had to vote for me. So I went on the Commencement website, and then they said, oh, yeah, choose your speaker. And my video was up there. And I was like, oh my gosh, people can see my video. I didn't know that. So I kind of just told my friends and whoever knew me, like my clinical group and my program, like, if you want to vote for me, you can. Telling others, like, to vote for me was kind of, like, weird for me because I never, like, asked that before. But ended up, like, some of the students in my program ended up choosing me, and I guess they liked my video, and it was nice. I kind of got my email when I was doing my practicum at Children's Hospital of Georgia, so I just saw my watch, and I was like, oh my gosh, I got selected. So I couldn't really show my experience in front of my patients, but it was nice.
Well, like I said, I'm really excited. Could you give us a little sneak peek of what your speeches will entail?
I'd say for me, it was really hard for me to narrow it down and then to think of like all of my experiences and to kind of condense it into like less than 5 minutes. And so I pretty much thought of the things that I've been through here at Augusta University and then think of the three best like messages or themes, if you will, that I could really just leave the graduating class. And so that's kind of how it's like done for me. So there's a little parts, and I also tried not to mention too much of my experiences, but just think of how to take my experiences and give that as something that people can reflect on and say, like, okay, if he was able to do this, because like for me, Augusta University was the only school that I applied to and actually got in. So my story really started from the beginning. So I think that just pulling parts to be able to, have someone be able to pull from is kind of how I'm going to go about it.
For me, in the graduate school, we all took a step to continue education. So I just wanted to emphasize how, as a team and coming from different backgrounds, how we all emphasize hard work in different ways, instead of just an academic way. Everyone, emphasize something as hard work. So bringing that together and how we can be like innovators of the coming, we're the coming generation of innovators. So emphasizing that and how taking our career path, we can make an impact on it, has a positive impact on individuals.
How do you feel overall that you've grown throughout your time here at AU? And are there any like specific moments that you can think of that kind of tied back to signifying that growth? I didn't mean to stump y'all, but
I'd say for me, I'm very appreciative of the growth that I've had here, and I think it's probably the best way I could say it is that I'm happy that I can look at myself as the 18-year-old, freshman that came in here and the 22-year-old graduate now, and say that in a good way that it's almost like night and day, where like I don't necessarily would consider myself a failure because my mom always told me not to call yourself that. But I know just coming out of high school, the type of person that I was and the things that I didn't get to be involved in, I just kind of felt like a failure. So to kind of go from that into just being a part of a community like here, and even when I applied, I just felt like it was a home, like a second home. And so just knowing that if I had something that would happen, that I would feel like a failure, or that if there was any experience that just wasn't the best, that I could rely on this community. And so just being able to really rely on people. And like one of my themes is like just seeking community, because like nowadays I feel like it's so easy to be very self-reliant and to just be very individualist, and I can do this on my own, I can get to this program on my own and do this, that, and the third. But it's so much more inspirational and like impactful when you can really rely on other people, and I think that's kind of hard to do, but I just am appreciative once again of like the way that I've been able to put myself in second place and just like rely on other people, and and flipping of that, and also have other people rely on me and kind of just grow as a community like all together. So that's probably been the most like telling story that I can really say.
Yes, for me, coming out here, well, to start off, I always wanted to be in this program, like in a nursing program. So when I came out here, I really got to be independent. I live on campus, so I really got to be on my own. Back home, I always have friends near me. I live with my mom, so I didn't feel like I had that independent feeling over there. But when I came here, it felt very different. I got to step out of my comfort zone and meet new people. And I feel like that made a big experience in, being here in Augusta. And I got to create a small family with my program. So, yeah.
I'm glad you're able to have that small family, especially in like a short amount of time.
Yes, we could only discuss with each other. It's hard to discuss with your friends and family about the feelings that you're having about, nursing school because, they may not have that same experience because they're not in nursing. So, and that goes with any program. If you're in engineering school, you have different obstacles that you want to share, with your peers. So, yeah, that's something that was nice to experience with my peers.
And is there any advice that y'all have for fellow graduates that are about to start this next chapter along with y'all?
That's a good question. My mind is flowing with like a bunch. I'm trying to narrow it down to one.
What came to mind first?
I don't know how to put it into words or into like an actual statement, but that where you start off, whether that's like the starting of like a career, the start of like your college career, doesn't always necessarily have to be how you finish. So I started off, for an example, in the Jaguar Jumpstart program, which pretty much is like a summer program where you play catch up in a sense. My transcript from high school wasn't good enough in a sense, or didn't meet the requirements of being able to just enter in the normal fall semester for my freshman year. And so for me, I had to come into that summer prior. So for me, that was actually like 2 weeks after I graduated high school. I was enrolled here and moved in, and we took classes, about 6 credits worth, and pretty much just, got to learn about the community, the university, a lot of studying and inquiry-like skills. And so I just, even with that program, I was like, I don't necessarily feel like, the most qualified person. And so just also understanding that, where you start doesn't have to be your final destination. I kind of challenged myself for the next 4 years to kind of reinvent myself and not feel like in the ballpark of a failure. And so that's kind of the main theme that's really been like my why in a sense. So,
well, personally speaking, from watching you in our interactions over the past couple of years, I would say you're far from a failure. So don't ever think that you are a failure.
Thank you.
But yeah, what about you, Deepali?
In my program, I've met a lot of individuals who are parents and their grandparents, and I'm over here, I'm like, okay, I'm not even anywhere near that. But it just made me more motivated. If they can do it, I can do it too. And we, worked as a team. So they always push themselves, and that makes me push myself more too, because, let's see, if you like fail in some way, right? You fall, but you can still rise even higher. So that's one thing I like to keep emphasizing, is just continue with your passion, continue with your dream and the goal that you have, no matter where you are in your journey. Because even if you have to take a small pause, a little break, that's great. You need that. And coming from my perspective, like, I never wanted a break. I always took summer classes, and right after undergrad, I came here doing an accelerated program. So emphasizing having break, relaxing, and knowing that you can still always continue your journey is something I like to emphasize to all my peers.
That's good.
Well, thank y'all so much for imparting a little bit of your wisdom with me. I look forward to hearing your speeches on Friday and Thursday for commencement. And for all of those watching, please check out the ceremonies, but stay tuned because we'll be right back to keep our graduation conversation going.
Hello, my name is Susan Davies, and I'm your Vice President for Enrollment and Student Affairs. I'm so delighted that I get to talk with you today about 4 to Finish. These are 4 aspects that we want you to incorporate into your life here at Augusta University in order to be successful. We feel like if you incorporate 4 to Finish, that you will be happier with your Augusta University experience and that you'll graduate on time. So what is 4 to Finish? Number 1, engage. We want you to engage both inside and outside of the classroom. Join a club or organization, speak with your faculty member after class, engage in undergraduate research. Number 2, we want you to make purposeful choices. Make purposeful choices about how you spend your time, about your major, and even about who you study with. Make purposeful choices. 3 is to develop your academic mindset. We want you to come into college and to be a student here at Augusta University with a growth mindset, with a mindset that allows for you to learn from others and to bounce back easily from mistakes. And number 4 is to follow your program pathway. This means following your curriculum in order to graduate on time, but it also means thinking about what you want to incorporate into your academic program to make it even more holistic for you. That might include an internship or student leadership. When you graduate from Augusta University, we want you to graduate with your degree in one hand and a career plan in the other. And 4 to Finish will get you there.
What's up, y'all, and welcome back to In the Wild. And virtually, we have some very, very special guests joining us to continue our graduation season conversation. They are both CEOs, and I am excited to let them share some words of inspiration about all things graduation. So give a really big, warm Jaguar welcome to Mr. Rodney Bullard and Ms. Stephanie Stuckey. How's it going, y'all?
It's going great. Awesome. Good to see you, man.
Yeah, thanks so much for being here and chatting with us a little bit. But just to kind of get started, do you mind sharing what inspired you to pursue your current roles and just like the positive impact that you've been able to make so far in your fields? Because you're both very accomplished individuals.
Stephanie, please go first, my friend.
Okay, I currently, this is my forever job. I run my family's business, and what inspired me was the opportunity to revive my grandfather's legacy. Those of you not familiar with our story, my grandfather built his company during the Great Depression, and he sold it in the 1970s. It was out of our family hands for decades, and the company was 6 figures in debt when I had the unexpected opportunity 4 years ago to buy it. And my main inspiration is very simple. I loved my grandfather. I think the takeaway for those listening, whether you have a family business or not, is that you should do what you have an emotional attachment for. And you shouldn't just have a job, you should have a calling. And I know that's truly what I found. And I know that's what Rodney has found as well.
Absolutely. Rayshawn, as you already know, Stephanie is a good friend of mine, and I've had the honor of watching her really rebuild her business, but it is amazing what she's doing over there. So very proud of you. And really, for me, I have had a number of lives. I've been a federal prosecutor. I've been a JAG in the Air Force. I have been a senior executive at Chick-fil-A, where I led and ran the Chick-fil-A Foundation and Chick-fil-A Corporate Social Responsibility, and recently took some of the elements of the Chick-fil-A Foundation and Chick-fil-A that we were working on that were benefiting the community, and took those and formed a new venture called The Same House. And so I grew up in Atlanta, grew up in Decatur, Georgia, and I saw that Atlanta's a wonderful place, Georgia's a wonderful place, but quite frankly, every neighborhood does not have the same opportunity as other neighborhoods. And so our effort through The Same House is to really assist nonprofits, is to assist communities, and is to ensure economic mobility. We do that through one event called the Beloved Benefit, where Congressman John Lewis in 2019, at his last public event, big public event, said we're one people, one family. We all belong to the same house. And so this notion that we all belong to the same house is really a calling for me, for us to be able to understand that in every way, both economically, but also socially as well.
Well, thank you both for sharing that. And before we kind of dive deeper into some of your career stuff, what was it like when you found out the other person was also going to be speaking at commencement?
Well,
I was nervous.
I was very excited because, look here, those students who are going to get a chance to hear from Stephanie are in for a treat, and they will learn a lot. They will be inspired, and they will go out and buy Stuckey candies and Stuckey pecans, and so it's going to be awesome.
Yeah, I was nervous because I know how good a speaker Rodney is. I've heard him over the years. And fun fact, we initially met because I really wanted Rodney to run for public office. And I used to be in politics, and he's way too smart for politics. So he was very tactful and very kind and polite. And he said, thanks, but no thanks. And, has just pursued amazing things. But I know what a good, powerful speaker he is. And I guess I'm also very honored to be in such great company. And most importantly, just to have the opportunity to be inspired by all these students. I mean, you think about who goes to Augusta University, and so many of them are first-time college grads in their family, or have worked other careers, or who have really had to struggle financially to be able to afford a college education. And to me, their stories are just as inspiring, if not more inspiring, than my story, our stories.
Our stories, absolutely.
Yeah.
Without question. And when we think about economic mobility, we talk about that there are three ways that you can further economic mobility. It's education, it's entrepreneurship, it's employment.
Yes.
And Augusta University is really furthering all of those things, and the opportunity to have a great education from a great university, the opportunity to get a great job, and the opportunity to further your career through entrepreneurship, which I know because I know the dean of your business school, that you're doing those types of things as well, and offering those types of opportunities and that type of tutelage. So congratulations.
I'm super excited to hear both of you speak at commencement, but can you share a specific moment in your career where you felt it really motivated you to become a leader and just an advocate for change in your respective fields?
Stephanie?
Trying to think of one moment. I think it's interesting, the moments that inspire the most are the moments when you're at your lowest. And I think that's part of what I'm going to talk about next week. Is it's often when we are where we think we're really low, we've hit rock bottom. Rock bottom is where you find the foundation on which you can build. And this isn't necessarily a moment I decided to lead, but this was the moment when I realized I could turn this company around, which was doing so poorly when I bought it. We were 6 figures in the red, and we had 9 employees, and our corporate headquarters was a double wide trailer. Nothing wrong with a double wide trailer. I come from South Georgia, but it's not exactly what I aspire to as the CEO. And I had a very low moment where I pulled over into a former, it was the Stuckey store. It's now a former Stuckey store. It was completely torn apart. It looked terrible. And I just thought, this is my company. And I sat in the parking lot and just cried. That was really my lowest moment. And then I walked in the store, and it had people in it. It was filled with people buying product. And it made me realize that moment that maybe I couldn't revive the stores. We didn't have the financing, and there were many barriers that didn't make it a good plan forward, but we could sell product. And that's when I realized, that was my aha moment, we can buy a candy plant. I was able to get the financing together through USDA loans, small business loans, and acquire a manufacturing facility in rural Georgia right outside of Augusta. And that was our turnaround moment. So the point is, those low moments are often those moments when you're so challenged that you figure out how you can turn things around.
That's awesome.
I love that. Thanks for sharing that, because I can definitely relate in low moments that I've had being a somewhat recent college graduate. You're right. Those moments can really just set you up to be more resilient than you can ever imagine.
Yeah, you're grateful for them, not at the time, but later.
For sure. What about you, Rodney?
As I think about Stephanie's story, I think about a story that was told to me when I was at the Air Force Academy in the military, and it was a story about burn the boats, and that there was this great army, and they would they lived on an island, and they would go across the sea to fight other countries, and they would always lose, and they would come back, and then at some point they got onto a foreign coast, and their general burned their boats, and that was the first time that they were able to be victorious, even though they always had the talent, always had the ability, but sometimes you have to burn the boats because it's only one way forward. And so for me, the time in which I realized that leadership was very important to me and necessary, and that it was something that I had to be called to, was really during Hurricane Katrina. And you all, from your student standpoint, will not remember Hurricane Katrina. But Hurricane Katrina was a hurricane that hit New Orleans and Mississippi and parts of Alabama and Texas. And I had lived in New Orleans, had lived in Mississippi, and was very familiar. And I saw that there was such devastation and there was such a need. And I truly believe that leadership is about solving problems. And at that point, it was clear that there were problems that government couldn't solve. There were problems that a society couldn't solve and individuals couldn't solve by themselves, that they had to come together in those communities to do something to better themselves and to improve their current lives. So they had hit rock bottom, as Stephanie said. They really could not go anywhere but forward. But they also recognized that they couldn't go forward alone, that they had to do that together. So it took corporations, it took policy, it took the military, it took everybody coming together really to solve those issues. And I also realized that the people in Hurricane Katrina that were impacted the most were those who could not actually evacuate. They didn't have anywhere to go. They didn't have transportation. And so even though that was the order of the day, they couldn't actually effectuate that. And so there are so many folks that need our help. And if in fact we are blessed as we are to have the resources that we do, it's incumbent upon us, it's our reasonable service to give back.
Mm-hmm.
I agree for sure on that part. As CEOs, both of you have a range of roles and responsibilities, as I can imagine. How do you balance that fine line of professional and personal life?
Mm.
I don't. I don't. I just totally admitted that after a while and realized it's more of an integration than a balance. I love what I do, so that gets back to what I said in my first remarks or answer to your first question. Don't just find a job, find a calling. I read a great quote from Warren Buffett, and they said, well, what's the secret to your financial success and your business success? And he said 4 words: do what you love. So if you do what you love, it's not work, and you don't feel like you have to balance things. Now, having said that, I have a family. I have 2 kids. There's nothing more meaningful than spending time with my family and the people I love, my friends, and my coworkers. The team that we've built at Stuckey's, they are people I genuinely like. And when most people spend about half their time at work. So surround yourself with people that you genuinely enjoy being with, and then there's not as much of a sense that you have to separate. And I also just make sure the time you are with people that you care about, make that quality time, and it's quality over quantity. Just really make every minute count when you're with the people you want to be with.
Yeah. Rayshawn, I can't improve upon that answer, my friend. It really is. Everything that she said, there is no work-life balance. You just integrate it and you make it work.
But going off of more work things, Rodney, you were actually able to publish a book. What was that experience like?
It was a great experience. And I published the book. It's called Heroes Wanted: Why the World Needs You to Live Your Heart Out. So you can go on Amazon, you can get the book, Heroes Wanted: Why the World Needs You to Live Your Heart Out. I published a book in part because I saw friends who published books and who had a point of view and had something to say. And I thought that I wanted to also get out a message, and I wanted to really tell folks that they can be someone else's hero, and that it doesn't matter whether you are a student or whether you are a CEO or whether you're a president, that you can always have the opportunity to impact somebody else's life positively. And so that was a wonderful experience in twofold. One, that I actually published the book, uh, and because that was something that, frankly, I wasn't sure if I could do, write a book and then get it published. And then the second thing is that people actually read the book. I was surprised by that. I thought it was just going to be my mother who read this book. And I've been blessed that people all over the country, all over the world have read the book, and it's done really well. And there's the need for this message of empowerment, but also need for the message of connection with one another.
I gotta read it. I read the title now.
I know. I definitely got to check it out now. So, Stephanie, I have a somewhat hardball of a question for you because it can be very controversial. Do you say pecan or pecan?
That is controversial. I say, there are people who say it the other way, right? I will give the very diplomatic answer that my grandfather gave. They are pecans when you pick them, pecans when you sell them.
Oh, wow. I've never heard that before.
The logic is pecans sound a lot more high-end and hoity-toity, and so he thought he could get a better price if he said pecans. But what he really did is whoever he was talking to, he would match what they said. So if they said pecans, he would say pecans. And I do the same thing. And I actually was talking to someone the other day who said, pecan. You know, so I'm like, whatever you say, I'm going to say it.
I call it pecan pie, but I say pecans.
Yeah.
Okay.
Which is weird.
I do that too, actually. That's when just left to my own devices.
Yeah.
70% of Americans say pecan, according to a survey done by the Georgia Pecan Shellers Association.
Okay.
So most people say pecan. I actually have a map that shows regionally how people pronounce it different ways. So different parts of the country. Louisiana, they tend to say pecan.
Okay.
So different parts of the country say it different ways, which is fascinating to me.
I say pecan, and that's pretty much everyone in my family and around town. For me, where I grew up, we said pecan, so it's very interesting that, well, now I want to see this regional map of who's saying pecan, because if you just say it's 70%, that's, like, I'm in the minority here, so I'm kind of curious now about that part.
It's good to be in the minority. You're different.
No.
You stand
Yeah.
Yeah.
But switching gears back a little bit, have you had any mentors or role models along the way who have played a significant role in your careers?
Question. Yeah, I'll take this one. It was very important for me early on, after having family members that just poured into me, neighbors that poured into me, to be intentional about seeking out mentors, to write notes, to seek out people and meet them, and to write a list of people who I wanted to meet. And many of them have become friends and mentors. And that, I think, is really something that, if I'm a student at Augusta University, that I would say, take that lesson to heart, that mentorship is really important. And at some point, sponsorship is really important. Mentorship is, I pour into you, I give you information. But sponsorship is, I help you. And I help move you from one place to the next. I speak positive things about you to other people. And so we have to be both mentors and sponsors, and to seek both of those.
Do you have anything to add to that, Stephanie?
I'd just say that mentors are everywhere, and don't feel constrained that you have to have a certain type of mentorship relationship where it's this more formal, long-term, structured mentorship, but that you can find people who inspire you, and it can be more informal and casual where it's someone that you just admire and you watch their leadership style. Mentors are everywhere, and it could be as simple as someone you admire, like Rodney said, and reaching out to them and asking if they'll have coffee with you. And I know Rodney does this, and I do this, and so many people I know do this. If somebody asks me for advice, career advice, we all have busy schedules, right? And you make time for what matters. And I will always make 30 minutes out of my schedule to meet. It's usually young women, but it doesn't have to be. I'll meet people in their career journeys who want to have coffee and just get some advice. And so that's a 30-minute conversation. That's not a long-term mentorship relationship, but it's still mentoring and giving support and guidance and just letting them know there's a whole community of people out there who want to support you and want to see you succeed.
Yeah. And I'll say this, it doesn't end. As you get older, you should always seek mentors. I had a breakfast with a friend and a mentor this morning. And so always be in the role of being a mentor, but also always be in the role of being the mentee as well. And you'll get a lot out of both.
I like that. And since you all are preparing speeches for college students, I was curious if y'all don't mind sharing what were you like as a college student?
I'm sure Stephanie was very studious.
I went to the University of Georgia, and I was on the 5-year plan. I might just leave it at that.
Okay.
Say I had a very balanced academic career. Now, I was very studious, but I loved being involved in the community. So it wasn't just campus, and I did a lot of campus activities. I wrote a column for the student paper. I had a weekly column, and I pray that those columns are no longer available. My parents still have them, but I just dove into activities, and I was also very active in the community. I got involved in an organization called the Jeanette Rankin Foundation. Jeanette Rankin was the first woman in Congress, and she retired in Lexington, Georgia. And some professors at the University of Georgia started a scholarship fund in her honor, and they gave scholarships to older women, more mature women seeking an education who had had setbacks in their lives. And so to this day, I'm active in that organization. I started getting active in my late teens at the University of Georgia. So that was one of the more interesting things that I did in college. Was I wasn't just active on campus life. I got active in Athens, Georgia community. And there are still people in the Athens, Georgia community I know to this day. I've kept relationships with them from those college years. And Augusta's the same way. I mean, it's a great community. So, students aren't just students at the university. They are ingrained in Augusta and Richmond County, and there's just such a vibrant, rich cultural life there and so much to offer in the medical field. And I can go on and on about what Augusta has to offer. So to me, it wasn't just the college campus experience. It was that whole community experience that was relevant to me in my college years.
That's awesome. That's awesome. Hey, Sean, I went to the United States Air Force Academy, which is a medium security prison. So I got out as quickly as they let me, and so I graduated. And for me, college was really about learning how to be a leader. It was learning. And that's the purpose of the military academies. They're leadership institutions. And so one of the things that I learned early on was what it felt to be a follower. Because I got to the Air Force Academy and they yelled at me. And I was like, that didn't feel right. That didn't feel like what I want to have leadership look like. And so by being a follower, I learned a lot about how to be a better leader. What I liked, what motivated me, what moved me, what type of leaders I wanted to emulate. And so the Air Force Academy was a lot of that for me. Was active in the community as well, active in I played football at the Air Force Academy. I did the mock trial at the Air Force Academy, and was very active in extracurricular sports and activities. But for the most part, I learned to be a leader.
Thanks for sharing that. What advice would you have for graduates listening to this podcast right now on that next chapter of life they're about to embark?
Rodney, you want to take that first?
Yeah. I would tell them that they are more than enough. And as they embark on this next stage of life, it can be daunting, it can be different, it can be new, but they're more than enough. And to be offensive in their careers, to seek out opportunities, to seek out mentors, to seek out things that they can say yes to work hard, yes, but to understand that they can shoot for the stars, and to do so, and not to just remediate back to the mean. And so I would tell them that they're more than enough and they can do great things.
Yeah, I would just say don't get discouraged. It's hard being out in the real world. I absolutely loved being in school, so much so, like I said, I took 5 years undergrad and then I went to law school. And Rodney went to law school as well. I didn't want to graduate. I wanted to stay in school. I love the academic life. And it's hard out there in the career world. You have to deal with sometimes difficult people at work. You have to deal with mortgage or rent and bills and taxes, and adulting is hard. And just don't get discouraged. Just keep going and know you are not alone. There's a whole community supporting you, not only your work community and the place that you live. Hopefully many of them will stay in Augusta and Richmond County, or you can come on over to Jefferson County and work for Stuckey's. Shameless plug. But also, they're now beginning their journey as alumni. And I can't tell you how many times I've turned to the UGA network for support. And so that alumni network is strong, and they are there to see you succeed. And so just don't get discouraged. And when you do feel overwhelmed, don't be afraid to reach out and know that you got a whole community of people who are rooting for you and want to see you succeed and support you.
Okay, last question before I let y'all go. If you had to give one word to describe your upcoming speech, what would it be?
Stephanie, you go first.
Kindness.
Kindness.
I talk about kindness. I talk about, we all have so many gifts. Everyone that and I love that I'm talking to the graduates. So I'm talking to people who have nursing expertise or physical therapy, business, all these specialized degrees. And so, I was thinking about what is sort of a constant theme throughout all these different vocations, that you're calling on people, no matter what your chosen profession is going to be. What is it that you really should be focusing on? And we all have so many gifts, and use your gifts for good and be kind to others.
Rashawn, I'm gonna use a hyphen and put two words together.
Okay.
Giving back.
Yeah.
And I will say giving back.
Well, I'm super excited, as I mentioned before. Thank y'all so much for being here. And for everyone that's watching, watch graduation, or at least, if you can, show up in person. So thanks again, y'all, for being here and getting us all inspired and excited.
Thank you, Rashawn.
Appreciate you all.